Vic and Melinda live in a small town where they are raising their daughter Trixie. At first glance, they may seem like a perfect family. However, everyone has their own secrets. For example, Melinda has learned over the years of marriage to relax in the company of other men, which Vic doesn't pay attention to. At least he doesn't make scandals or threaten to divorce. His mutual friends are tired of telling him about his wife's infidelities, but he doesn't seem to want to know and see that his wife is unfaithful to him. One day, the couple decides to go to a party at a friend's house and calls a babysitter for Trixie. Melinda puts on a beautiful dress, and Vic helps her. He does not know that his wife has invited her new boyfriend Joel to the party. The heroine doesn't even try to hide and introduces her friend to her husband, and then openly flirts with him in front of everyone. When Vic is alone with Joel, he tells him about Melinda's former friend who has gone missing. At first, Joel thinks the man is just trying to intimidate him. However, when Vic confesses to killing his wife's lover, Joel decides to be more careful and stay out of his way. At home, Vic tells his wife that she could have found someone smarter than Joel, but Melinda disagrees. It is with him that she feels welcome, not burdened with the need to meet someone else's expectations. Then she asks her husband to go into the other room. Vic is not surprised because they have been sleeping separately for a long time. The next day, the man finds out that the whole town is saying that he killed his wife's friend. It turns out that Joel told everyone about Vic's threats, and now even some of his friends are starting to wonder if he really could have killed the guy. Melinda finds out about this and orders her husband to apologize to her friend at the lunch she invited him to. During the dinner, the heroine humiliates Vic in front of her lover, and he is not even going to do anything. Joel feels uncomfortable in this house. However, when Melinda sends her husband to put her daughter to bed, Joel, left alone with her, seems to start feeling much better. Later, Vic comes downstairs, calls his guest a taxi, and once again hints at brutal violence if he does not stop communicating with the married woman. The next morning, the couple meets the writer Don. When he learns that Vic has created a chip for military drones, Don immediately becomes negative towards the hero. He has also heard rumors that Vic killed his wife's friend. After an awkward pause, Vic asks the writer's wife to dance, thus attracting Melinda's attention. On the way home, she asks her husband if he would like to have fun with that woman. In the end, the conversation leads nowhere, and the characters decide to have a good time. The next morning, the man learns from a bank employee about Melinda's money transfer. It turns out that she transferred several $1,000s to a certain Charlie, allegedly for piano lessons. The man finds this Charlie, who, as it turns out, is another lover. However, he decides to do nothing for now. Soon, the couple goes to another party, where Melinda invites Charlie. Having introduced her new lover to her husband, the heroine continues to flirt with him in front of everyone. Vic just watches them. It starts to rain in the pool, and everyone returns to the house, while Vic and Charlie stay by the pool. At this time, Don is watching them, but he soon leaves. A few minutes later, Vic joins his friends, occasionally glancing at his wife, who goes looking for Charlie before he can find him. Melinda finds her lover's body in the pool and calls for help. Together with his friends, Vic pulls Charlie out of the water and tries to resuscitate him, but it's no use. Melinda accuses her husband of murder, and when the police arrive, she seriously tells the officers about her suspicions. Don is of the same opinion. However, there is no evidence to prove them right. When Vic returns home, he asks his wife if she is afraid of him if she thinks he is a murderer. The woman says that she has no fear, because he did it for her. Sometime later, Vic recalls the same moment in the pool. It turns out that he really drowned Charlie, and then returned to his friends as if nothing had happened. The fact is that the day before, Melinda had confessed to an affair with Charlie. Vic also saw them lock themselves in a room at the party. Apparently, this was a kind of trigger for such radical actions. Soon after, the writer's wife, Kelly, comes to see Vic and reports her concerns. She tells him that her husband and Melinda are constantly discussing some crazy theories that Vic is a serial killer. The man is grateful to Kelly for her concern and invites her and her husband to dinner. During the dinner, Vic asks Don to stop spreading rumors that he killed Charlie because he has no proof. However, the writer is sure that Vic is lying to him. He asks if Vic would be willing to repeat his words under a polygraph test. The man agrees, and Don leaves. After a while, Vic notices that he is being followed. Soon he finds his wife in a cafe with a man who claims to be a psychiatrist. However, Vic has seen a camera and other equipment in his car that detectives usually use. It turns out that Melinda had recently transferred several $100s to Don, and putting these facts together, Vic realizes that he has been followed. After he has settled things with Don, Vic returns to the car and accidentally spots his wife in the company of another lover. He does not have to look for this man himself, because Melinda brings him back to their house. It turns out that this time the man's name is Tommy. He is engaged in the construction of ecological houses abroad and has recently returned to the city. It was with him that Melinda recently spoke on the phone, confessing her love and saying that she and her daughter were planning to go to Brazil to visit him. In the past, Tommy had dated Melinda, but then left her. Melinda does not hesitate to tell her husband about it and about all the details of their youthful love. While Melinda is dancing with Tommy, Vic clears the table and watches them. Soon, he invites Tommy outside and offers to show him the place Melinda has chosen to build an eco-friendly house. Tommy gets into his mistress's husband's car without any suspicion, but soon realizes that it was a bad idea. On the way, Vic asks about the reasons for Tommy's breakup with Linda, and then abruptly stops the car. When Tommy gets out, Vic starts throwing rocks at him. Eventually, the boy falls off a cliff and hits his head. Vic ties stones to his body and drowns him in the river, and then returns home as if nothing had happened. The next day, Melinda suggests going on a picnic to the gorge. Her husband agrees, and the whole family goes to the countryside. While his wife tells him about her feelings, Vic thinks about Tommy's body, which almost floated to the surface. Trixie comes too close to the pond, and fearing that his daughter will notice the body, Vic does his best to get her to move away. Soon the family returns home, but Melinda remembers that she left a scarf on the lawn. Vic reassures her and promises that he will come back for it. The next day, the man cycles to the gorge to hide Tommy's body. He finds a stick to realize his plan, but dawn suddenly arrives. The writer is surprised to see Vic standing in the water with a stick and tries to get down to him, but he soon notices that Tommy's body has floated to the surface and realizes that Vic is the real killer. Don quickly returns to the car and tries to text on the way, but the phone slips out of his hands and he doesn't have time to warn anyone. Meanwhile, Vic decides to take a shortcut through the woods because he can't let Don tell the police everything. He ends up driving onto the road right in front of the writer's car. Before he can react, Don drives off a cliff and crashes into rocks. At this time, Melinda, who finds Tommy's sudden disappearance suspicious, accidentally enters the room where Vic keeps his snails. Opening one of the terrariums, she finds her lover's wallet. Frightened, she starts packing, hoping to leave with her daughter before Vic returns. However, Trixie does not want to live without her father, so she takes her mother's suitcase and throws it into the pool. Melinda suddenly changes her mind and decides to stay. When Vic returns home, she waits for him on the stairs and then tells him that she recently saw Tommy. In this way, she lets her husband know that she knows about his death, but she does not intend to turn him into the authorities. It turns out that shortly before Vic's return, she burned the only evidence that pointed to his guilt, Tommy's documents. This is the end of this strange story. Do you think the man acted rashly and wrongly,